Hello, welcome to my 5th episode of Decorate My Cloud Island with me. This video is the second part of the giant tree build. In the last video I built up the trunk and decorated around the base of the tree. This video will show you how to create the canopy of the tree. The resources I used were lots of poker metal, green paint, grass flooring, bridge planks painted green, berry hanging lights, hanging vines, lots and lots of square plants and dense vines. Also some wireless transmitters for the lights. I used a lot more than what I've shown here, but I just wanted to give a summary of what resources were needed. The poker metal is for the 3D printing of the square plants because you need a lot of them. I am using grass flooring blocks to work out the shape of the canopy. These blocks will not be seen in the final tree, but they are easy to make and are good for creating the shape of the canopy. I used magnet rise to put the blocks in place on each of the branches. I focused on not creating a large square but to build a circular shape. It does not need to be exact as irregular shapes are more organic and realistic. For these lower layers, I make the layer above slightly bigger than the layer below. The canopy shape can be adjusted when we start to add the foliage to the tree, so for now I'm not worrying too much about it being perfect, just getting the general shape of the canopy in place. I also make sure that one branch has a layer lower than the other two branches. This gives variation to the base of the canopy, making it look more realistic. My plan for the shape of this canopy is fairly simple, with 3 rounded shapes over each branch and then a 4th section higher up that joins across the gap in between. This type of build is very flexible and could easily be modified to create a wide range of canopy styles. You could even make a weeping willow style using lots of hanging vines. I take a step back and have a look to see if I like the shape so far and if the width is enough for the canopy. Happy with that, I start building upwards by building the layers directly above each other. This gives height without getting any wider. The only section getting wider is the gap between the 2 sections that don't quite connect and a few other tiny spots to give some variation in the shape. I do spend some time filling in the gaps that the blocks leave, but this is not needed too much because you won't see them once the foliage is done. The gaps just bother me, so I'm always filling them in as I work so that I don't see them. I leave the center part hollow as I will come back later and put in wireless transmitters inside the canopy. When building straight up sections, have the layers in blocks of 3 so that when the foliage is placed, it requires 3 layers if they're going to be going directly above each other for them to work. After looking from a distance, I decided to add in a section of the canopy that helps to make the whole canopy more even. Taking a step back and looking at the tree from a distance, it is important so that you can see if the shape is looking natural or if any of the areas need more work on them. Once the height I want is reached, I begin to reduce the size of the layers. You can make the canopy much bigger than this, but the bigger it is, the more resources it will need. Mostly the square plants, they cost a lot with needing to be 3D printed. I don't know of any other way to get the square plants besides 3D printing. I am filling in the corner gaps, but as I said before, you probably don't need to worry about that as much as I have for this build. Once the foliage is in place, the gaps won't be seen at all, and it does add a lot of extra time to the build filling them in. It is good to check the underside of the canopy to make sure it looks good from below, as often you'll be standing on the ground looking up at it. I add in some extra blocks to make the underside look a bit better and not so flat. I keep building up the layers, reducing the canopy at the top. As I work, I make sure that any sections that have long flat edges are adjusted so they have more variation. When reducing the size on these top layers, at least one block needs to be left bare, but you can also reduce it with multiple blocks bare. This will just flatten out the top more quickly. I use this on the topmost layers so that the top of the tree is not too pointy. You want a fairly gentle flat top with just a small area that is a high point. When I first looked at making giant trees, I tried using this grass flooring block as a canopy on its own, but the lines on the sides bothered me too much. So I didn't end up using it for the canopy. If the sides didn't have the lines, this block would actually be really great for making trees with. But yeah, the lines, when they all join up and make straight lines going across, it bothered me. Sometimes with the canopy, if you're stepping it up just one block bigger on every single layer, it can get a bit of a diamond look to it, with like sharp edges. This is something just to be aware of, that can make the canopy look less realistic at a later stage. So that's just something to bear in mind when you're placing the blocks down for your canopy shape. Before I close the top layer, I go inside the canopy and add wireless transmitters. These are so I can have pretty hanging lights from the canopy. You could add the transmitters as you were building rather than leaving it to now. I just found it easier to do it all at once. I realised that I needed an extra one in a branch so that they would connect to the ones in the canopy. So I added one in a branch and widened the branch around it so that the transmitter was hidden. Once I have added enough transmitters in the canopy to ensure good coverage for the lights later, I close up the top layer of blocks. I then zoom around looking for any edges that don't look good and adjust the canopy until I am happy with its shape. I take bridge planks which have been painted green. You will need a lot of bridge planks and a lot of green paint for this. I start at the lowest part of the canopy and place the bridge planks against a grass flooring block. I then follow the blocks around, placing the bridge planks next to them. I do this for the whole layer. Once the whole layer is done, I go back and remove the corner planks which are not against a grass flooring block. Underneath the canopy, I notice a spot where there are 4 planks together in a square. The 2 at the back will not be seen, so I replace those with grass flooring blocks to save on resources. I continue around the whole layer, removing the corner planks as they are not needed and were only placed so you could put the planks next to them. Now for the expensive part. I put square plants on top of the bridge planks. All of these square plants are 3D printed and it uses a lot of poker metal to create them all. The square plants cover up the block behind them really nicely and don't have a trunk that needs to be hidden. They do need to be placed on top of a block, which is why I use the bridge planks. They also can't go on top of one another, so the higher up layers need some creative thinking to figure out how to place the plants in a way that looks good. To get lots of poker metal, I go to Dream Islands. The clear fairy one is great, especially if you need moss as well. Just dig down until you get to the yellow stone and go mining for the poker metal. Take lots of hamburgers to power up Rock Smash and Graveler. Layer 1 done. I then repeat with the bridge planks on this lower layer, which is on the third branch that was shorter than the other ones. As this layer is narrower than the one above it, it doesn't cause many issues when placing the plants on them. When removing the corner bridge planks, be careful not to remove the ones on the layer above, otherwise the plant will be broken and you'll need to plant the seeds again to grow it. At this point you can see that I can't place the plant on the bridge plank. This is because the spot above it has a plank and a plant. This stops the square plant from being able to be placed on top of the bridge plank. As you can't really see the one above it, I remove that plant and plank and replace it with grass flooring. This allows the spot below it to have a plant now. In this spot you can see it is directly below the plants above and it's stopping the plants from being placed. I remove the grass flooring so that the bridge planks are in the line behind so that they're not directly below the ones above it. This allows the plants to then be placed. I add some bridge planks and plants around the branches to soften the transition from the wooden branch to the canopy. This will be softened further later on with vines once the canopy is finished. Adding the plants along the branches helps reduce the sharp lines on the branches. Adding the plants around that bottom layer of the canopy along the branches also stops the bottom of the canopy looking completely flat, which would then not look as realistic. It helps to soften that flat underlayer and add a little bit more visual interest to it. It's a fairly simple system once you get the hang of it. It's just sometimes a little bit tricky when the shapes of the canopy don't quite work right. If you got spots where the plants need to be above each other. It's just about working out how to fill the gap or place them in a way that will work for plants. Onto the next layer. If you can't find a spot to easily start the bridge planks, putting down 2 grass blocks can help to get the bridge plank layer started. These can be removed once the bridge plank is placed. This layer is a repeat of the other layers. If you find a spot where the grass blocks aren't right, just adjust it so that the bridge planks can be placed. Sometimes you'll need to remove the grass blocks or add them in if you've got spots where like the hedges need the grass blocks above them because you can't put the planks directly above the hedges. It's just a matter of adjusting the shape as you go in order to suit the build that we're doing. Just going back along the wooden planks, removing the corner ones. Once that is done, getting the square plants and placing them on all of the wooden planks. On this next layer, it does go a little bit different. As this layer is directly above the one below, I remove the grass flooring blocks by one so that the plants can go in a row behind the layer below them. I work my way around the layer. I find for this sort of layer, it's easier to work in sections rather than the whole layer at once. So I'm placing plants as I go so that I can see if it's working. Sometimes the canopy shape makes it a bit tricky to position the planks and the plants, especially when it meets a section that is still getting wider rather than just going higher. I have to adjust how it goes so that I can make the section wider with using bridge planks. I do leave a little gap there, but I fix it on the next layer. Some of the tricky spots can be hidden on the following layer, so it's okay to go past it and come back to fix. Onto the next layer, I use grass flooring blocks to get the bridge planks going, and then the bridge planks just follow the blocks around the sides. It works because the layer below was placed one block in. If you get a spot like this where the grass block can be seen and not easily hidden, when you put dense vines on the wooden planks, it hides the spot behind it fairly well. So unless you're looking super close, you won't notice it. These upper layers are much more simple than the lower ones. You are just going around and placing the square plants on top of the grass flooring blocks, just filling in the areas. And when I get to this section where it goes out a little bit, it juts out, I have to switch to putting the bridge planks down to be able to do that layer, that last little bit of the layer. Where the two sections meet is a little bit tricky because they don't just merge simply. You've got to sort of make a little gap back behind so that the grass blocks won't be seen. So I just remove a couple of the grass blocks and that allows the plant to be put there. In this build I am just using square plants. You can mix in other hedges if you want flowers. They don't fit in smoothly as they are round, but it can look cute if you're wanting some flowers or colour in the canopy. The adorable hedges are the ones which match like the green shade better with the square plants. The other ones are not quite the right shade of green. As you can see, I used a lot of square plants. So many, and so much poker metal to 3D print them. If you haven't found square plants, I'm pretty certain there were some in the rocky ridges near the museum, on that little outside area at the museum, and there were a few in the Sky Islands as well. Taking a look around the tree with all of the square plants in place. If you want, you can leave it there and not do the next part, because it looks pretty good like this. I find that when standing on the ground and looking up, the look of the bridge planks bugs me a bit, so I use dense vines to hide the bridge planks. It does take quite a bit of time to harvest this many dense vines, but I think the look of it is worth the time. I also use a lot of hanging vines, as I love the look of the vines hanging down. And if you want to harvest a lot of hanging vines easily, if you go to a Dragonite Dream Island, there's heaps of hanging vines just all over the rocks there, so you can just go around and harvest heaps and heaps of them. If only they had the same for the dense vines. It takes a fair bit of time having to use power up leafage on them. on blocks and then to harvest them. They do look so pretty though. When placing the dense vines on the planks, pay attention to which side you're placing them on, as the hanging vines won't hang from the front of the dense vine block, only from the sides of it. In some spots you can't pick which direction the dense vines are placed, but on the ones that you can, make sure you work out where you want the hanging vines first before placing the dense vine. It gets a bit tricky to work underneath the canopy and place the vines, but just keep trying. Sometimes it's a bit tricky trying to get the angle to place them. It doesn't seem to always want to place it where you're looking at easily. I've added a lot of vines onto the wooden branches to soften the look of the wooden pillar blocks. It helps make the sharp edges a little bit less obvious. I keep working around the canopy, putting the vines on any bridge planks I see. If I can add the dense vines from behind, if there is a gap, I do it, as this allows for more hanging vines from the front. On some layers, the placement of the dense vines prevents any hanging vines from being able to be placed on them. With the hanging vines, I try to vary the number that are hanging down so that they don't all end at the same height. It looks nicer if some vines are longer and others are shorter. Building this tree takes quite a lot of time, but I think that it's well worth it with the way it looks and how impressive it is, especially when you're flying from the distance and you're coming towards it and you can just see it there at the distance, and it looks really cool. And then it sort of comes into focus the closer you get to it. Just keep working up the canopy, adding in the vines underneath the blocks. And again, if the look of the wooden planks, the bridge planks, doesn't bother you, you could actually skip this step. I just think that it adds a whole other dimension to the tree and makes it look so much nicer. But it also is very time consuming, and yeah. Here under the canopy, it's easy for the dense vines to block each other, so there's a couple of spots where I just simply can't put a dense vine down because it's a tight area and it's blocked by the ones next to it. I think with this tree I made the layers on the areas above each branch too similar. You get a bit of a line going around the tree. For the next tree I think I would make the sections above each branch different so that the part where they stop getting wider begins on different layers. This would break up the line going around the tree. It would make it a bit more tricky in the spots where they join each other. I will have to see how that goes on the next tree. I'm sure I will make more because I love how they look. The only thing about this layer that I don't like is how the dense vines make a straight line. I think that I might need to add some variation in this layer to break up this line so it's not so obvious. Might also not need to have the dense vines on these ones because it's not as easy to see those bridge planks from down below if you're walking on the ground, because the layer below it actually is blocking the view. You could also use hanging vines instead of dense vines on this layer. It might make it less obvious as they're green rather than with the brown sticky part of the vine. Almost finished with all the dense vines. It's a pretty big process. Just a few more to go. And of course this one's fine, being a bit difficult to place. The last one, of course. The final step is to add some hanging berry lights. I don't do too many, I just want to sort of spread them out randomly so that at night the tree has some pretty lights. Sometimes it's a bit tricky finding the spot that's not blocked by the vines to allow the hanging light to be placed. On these sections where the canopy is quite a large flat green area, you can disguise that a bit by placing some bridge planks and hanging dense vines off of them. It helps to break up the flat green look from the grass flooring. It's a bit tricky to get the angle right to place the vines, but it does improve the look. Now to step back and see what it looks like from a distance. I love this tree build. It has such an organic feel to it and it's so flexible. You can create all sorts of canopy shapes and the tree can be as big as you want it to be. I have built a giant one in Pallet Town, which I will have to do a tour sometime to share it with you. The biggest limit to the size is how much mining you want to do to get the poker metal for all of the square plants. Oh, I just love how it turned out. Oh, it's an awesome tree. I hope you have enjoyed the second part of this giant tree build. If you give this a go, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about your builds. Thank you for watching and please like and subscribe. See you next time. Bye.